Welcome to the Continuous Transformation Podcast, where spirit and science meet and creatively merge to give birth to the future. Disclaimer: high risk of life-transforming perspectives.
This is the best time to begin your continuous transformation process.
Your host is Advaitananda, a visionary, influencer, and scientist with a quantum physics background and more than 30 years' experience of yoga, tantra, and meditation practice and teaching. In today's episode with Lucy Pattinson, we discover a new perspective and a long-term solution for the issue of compulsive eating and many more unsuspected related topics.
It's a process. When first time you sit there in front of the fridge with the compulsion to open the fridge, even though you don't need that, it's not time to eat, but still you sit there contemplating life in the fridge. Yeah. But instead of opening the fridge, I open myself towards that need. What do I need? What exactly do I need? After a while, you'll start to distinguish, yeah, actually, you're right. I have another desire now. And it's actually pointing towards another direction, not towards the direction of the fridge. Welcome, everyone. I'm Advaitananda. Ava, as friends call me. Our topic today might seem a little surprising for some, but is deeply revealing, not only in these times, but in our life, when seen from the right angle. We'll talk about eating, comfort eating, compulsory eating, and a little bit about how to have a long-term solution to this problem, even though we will not deepen the medical aspect of it. You will see that actually there are a lot of solutions that we carry with us all the time. Now, as an observation, I want to share with you a fact that we can validate each of us very simply if we observe ourselves. Eating is our biggest exchange of matter and energy with our environment. Practically, we can say that more than anything, we eat the world around us. And for this reason, being the biggest interaction that we have with our environment, very often it is said that sooner or later we become what we eat, or we are what we predominantly eat. And not by coincidence, today, obesity became a problem, especially in the modern society, and a main cause for disease. We have a tendency that I would very much like to point out, to hide this problem and even to try to redefine the terms. A few years ago, the term obesity was redefined not in terms of what it designates, but who is called obese, and the threshold for someone to be declared obese was lifted so that more and more people can feel a little comfortable about themselves. And this tendency itself to try to mask the problem by redefining terms, I think is very important to look at, especially today where we have a frenzy of redefining terms. And as a conclusion, we can see that we eat what we should not very often. We eat when we should not, and how much we should not. The question is, we're doing this on purpose, or why are we doing this? Are we predominantly masochistic beings? Are we totally unaware of what happens to us? Now, the topic is very important also because the same mechanisms that we have today in comfort eating, or regarding this banal aspect of our life, we can say, even though it's so important, I pointed out in this introduction, same mechanisms are present in many other aspects of our life. we do not only comfort eating, but we also do sometimes comfort drinking. We also do other things with our life based on the same mechanisms. But perhaps this habit of eating is the simplest to observe. We have it every day, unless we're fasting. But anyway, we're not fasting so long, so we have it every day and we can observe it every day very well. Many compulsions that we have today, many addictions that we are subjected to today, they are responding to the same mechanisms of our consciousness as this topic that we are having today, eating. And I invited today to shoot the questions a wonderful woman, a woman that I consider to be also not only wonderful, but very brave woman. Her name is Lucy Pattinson from UK, a mother and stepmother of 3, who started to practice and qualified as trainer in breathwork when she was 28, and ever since runs groups of practice and even private sessions of breathwork. But she didn't limit herself to this practice. She is the creator of the Who Am I series and co-founder of Quantum Questions, which is a very interesting platform. I strongly recommend you visit it. A platform for awakening spiritual curiosity and offering guidance for inner transformations. And in times like now, I would say this is a very courageous and welcomed initiative. She's also part, for the last 3 years, of Quantum Transformation Program, a program that I'm guiding. And this is where actually I met her. She's interested in deep inquiries since teenage years and did devotional chanting, breathwork, meditation, yoga. And she also mentioned to me she shaved her head twice. Perhaps it's important to mention that, especially regarding the non-conformism, the courage. She worked with Sondra Ray, among other famous names in the field of spiritual transformation. So welcome, Lucy, to my podcast.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you very much for inviting me on this subject. I have to say I was surprised because there were a couple of other topics which I thought you might choose. For me, on a personal level, this is like this little annoying thing that won't go away.
The stone in the shoe.
I've done really deep work, particularly with you in the last 3 years. I do daily practices, yet this comfort eating just won't disappear. It's really annoying, actually. And, it's very mild compared to the obesity and huge eating disorders going on at the moment. But it is an unhealthy habit I have. And it just, like you say, a stone in the shoe that I can't find the magic bullet yet. Why after doing all this yoga, meditation, breath work, why doesn't it just naturally fall away?
Yeah, that's a very good approach. And actually, this is the reason you were saying that you were surprised by why did I choose. Now, for those who listen to us, you should know that I'm receiving requests from people, questions constantly, because I'm teaching and working in this field of personal transformation. And I'm choosing for this podcast topics that I find relevant from a certain perspective. And what I find relevant is your approach, Lucy. So that's why, even though sometimes some topics, we treat them as minor, but that's why I gave the example with the stone in the shoe. That stone in the shoe could be very small, but it can ruin a long journey. For just few steps, you wouldn't even pay attention. But life is a long journey. You take many steps in life. And then even if it's a small stone, you need to pay the right attention to it in order to solve it for real. And that's why some of the topics could be that small stone in the shoe. You're preparing for Olympics, you're preparing for a great achievements, and yet there is something so small that can ruin all your efforts. So that's why I chose this topic, because of your approach on it and your questions. Let's move on then and explore this, turn it around the way you find useful.
Well, why do I find it so comforting? And that might seem a silly question, but it genuinely is. If I don't eat for 6 hours, it is like, where's my teddy bear gone kind of thing. And it's just annoying. But it is so lovely, like, to just then eat a banana or eat something, and it is like, oh, that feels so nice. But then it just becomes this constant habit that's obviously replacing something.
Yes. This is you started to point out something which I find extremely important on this topic. First of all, I want to go back a little bit to the idea of overeating. Why do we do it? And then I would move into the area of comforting, the comfort aspect of it. Because I think most of these kind of problems that we have today, they come mostly from the fact that we pay very little and poor attention to them. The quality of the attention we give to such problems is poor. And because of that, normally such issues are a conglomerate of issues that are mixed in our being, unconsciously mixed. And what we experience is the result of a series or a group of forces, inner forces, pulling us in unexpected resulting directions. So therefore, I would like to dismantle these conglomerative forces that as a result have overeating or comforting, compulsory tendency to eat and so on, with all the consequences that you mentioned that could be annoying. And first of all, about this overeating, we tend to have an exteriorized attention. We're convinced that, for instance, we can find solutions to our inner problems in the outer world. And one of the problems that we have is that we're deprived of quality time, quality pleasure, quality experiences. We live rushed, superficial, and poorly qualified life, if you want. And because we are convinced that we can solve this problem outside, we search for stimuli outside of ourselves that can solve this problem. And you already know that because you started to look inside more and more. Now, the interesting fact is that the good taste, for instance, of a certain food that you are eating, it makes you feel good, but the taste is just an experience. The fact that it has this good impact on you is what interests you. Usually we mix these two together. So therefore you said, I eat a banana, it feels good, it's fulfilling. Honestly, for instance, for me, banana doesn't say so much. See? So practically it's how it impacts me than how it is for each of us. Because for you is banana, for me it's something else perhaps. There are, for instance, tastes and smells and an experience of food, sometimes the texture, which for some people are repulsive, while for other people are addictive. They can't have enough of it. Why I want to distinguish between these two is because, you know, the impact that that experience have on you is your to regulate, to even to influence. The taste of the food, well, you can cook better perhaps, or get a ripe banana or whatever, but that's much you can do. I mean, you cannot reprogram nature, even though we try now, genetics and all that. But the reality is, what we can influence very much in that is the way the experience impact us. But the exteriorized attention doesn't allow us to do that. Practically, and that I think it helps a lot, is to remember the fact that when you taste something good, when you eat something good, it's a reminder of feeling good. It's just a reminder. But now, stop for a moment. Can you just remind yourself about that without the food? Of course, with certain, let's say, tools of your consciousness well trained, you can remind yourself every time how to feel good before you eat. Now, if you do this exercise, I can feel good. I can extract from the banana the reminder only of feeling good. And then by focusing on feeling good, just before eating the banana, you spend 3 minutes of feeling good. Now eat the banana and you will be surprised. Very often, well, you can even give up the banana. You will say, that's not the time for the banana. Honestly speaking, I already have what I need. So it's a good reminder. Another element, which it's also a matter of how we are programmed, we limit our experience of the world to a very little. Like, for instance, taste. Taste, feeling good, that's a very, very limiting experience. And as a proof of that, there are people who simply forget to eat when they do something else that is fulfilling. And in that moment, if you go with a banana and says, Lucy, do you want a banana? Ah, come on, leave me. Don't you see what I'm doing here? Yeah. Like, for instance, if you make love, how many times do you stop and say, okay, you know what? Let's go cooking because I'm so hungry. I mean, you can do that if you make love a lot and intensely, passionately, and so on. At some point, yes, you would like to eat something, but it's not the same compulsory tendency. Yeah. We do that when we're frustrated, when we didn't get enough. And on top of that is adding what I call unconscious associative patterns. We need to, for instance, get close to others. We have all kinds of needs. We need to feel that we, from time to time, open our defenses. We live in a world which is bombarding us with all kinds of alarms constantly. And because of that, we're almost constantly on a fight or flight mode. Yeah. And from time to time, we need to relax. We need to let go, open up. And open your mouth is the first gesture. Massive opening up is opening your mouth. Yeah. And this is by the way, one of the most important exchanger gates of our organism. Speaking of just the physical body, not to mention other elements. So for this reason, talking, open your mouth to talk, or open your mouth to eat. What do people do when they socialize? Talk and eat. That's the primordial things they do. They don't touch very much. They don't, of course they could do that, but they don't. But the first instinct, the first, let's say, reaction we get is open yourself, relax a little bit, and you have this social eating. It became almost like a social lubricant eating. Let's eat something, and then around the table people are even doing business today around the table, which is, of course, what I would say a poor solution to open yourself up. Because you notice that, you can be more open when you open yourself to eat. By doing so, analogically, is like you are living in a fortress and you want to receive something, you want to get something in, and you open the door. And now that you open the door, you are also receiving greetings and other things from the environment, not only the loads that are waiting in front of the gate. So that's why it's a simple mechanism we are not aware of, because the question is, wait a second, this is a trick. I try to open myself in order for the eating to start, but I am using that openness in order to, for instance, feel good to my friends. Can I not just feel good to my friends? Can I control that mechanism? Of course you can. Of course you can do that. And then, of course, once you separate that, you can feel good with your friends and eat. These are two distinct things, but unconscious associative patterns associate these two. And then, well, this is how I know how to open myself up. Nibbling something. People are almost compulsory. They start to talk with someone and they need to have a profound talk. They need to do something like eating. But actually is because it helps them to reach out deep inside. Because you have to swallow the things, and while you swallow, you also can regurgitate your feelings, your whatever comes from inside. So it's a double way, but we use it as a, let's say, as a trick. That's part of the mechanism. I want to relate here to this example, which is a very simple example of the eating an ice cream, which is very big. Actually too big. 2 kilos ice cream, yeah. Obviously, you don't need that. And many people are annoyed by doing that still. And when you ask them, why did you do that? Because you feel so bad afterwards. But they say, I feel bad only when I see the bottom of the bucket with ice cream. Before that, I don't remember it. I only enjoy the taste until I see the bottom of the bucket, when I hear the spoon hitting I did it again. So, of course, the question is why you do that. But more interestingly, how is this becoming a compulsion so blinding that you can't stop before you do it? You can't remember, for instance, the previous one and then realize, wait a second, I'll feel bad in the end. So can I stop before I reach the bottom of it? After 3 spoons only. And if you try to analyze, to see inside of you in that moment, you will do that when you are hungry. So you have a need. You need to feed yourself. And it's an experience that you have fundamentally deep inside, rooted inside of your being. But you are also a little bit deprived of pleasant sensations. You have some stresses around. You're not having much fulfillment lately, other kind of pleasant sensations. And you need a little bit of comfort or reassuring. And all that makes the 2 kilo bucket with ice cream in front of a friend who listened to you looking irresistible. You have to do that because you need validation. You need your friend to nod her or his head to say, yes, Lucy, I'm with you here. Anyway, it's just the validation which you need very much of. It's pleasant sensations. Yeah, it's a good taste. And you're hungry. But if you will decompose all these 3, you will split in 3 directions and you take them one by one and fulfill the need of comfort. Look, first of all, I need validation to my soul. But what do you need? Perhaps you have better ways. Hugging. You can even listen inside to your feeling. How do you feel in this moment? And stay a little bit, 5-10 minutes in that feeling. Even if it's not very appealing in the beginning, you'll realize, it's so much more comforting than talking about it. And then you take the pleasure sensation. Pleasure sensation from taste is poor compared with other kind of pleasures that you can experience. Go for a massage, for instance. Go for a very sensual touch. Go for all kind of very pleasant sensations. Walk barefoot. Not now in the frost, but if you are in a warm place or on the beach. Swim sometimes. There are a lot of things that can offer you fulfillment and pleasure. And now you are hungry. Go eat just for hunger. But when the reservoir for pleasure is filled, the reservoir, the tank for comfort is filled up, you'll be surprised. The ice cream looks enormous. You'll say, no way. I mean, 2-3 spoons because like this, but honestly, I'm hungry. I need something to feed myself. And then maybe as a dessert, you take a spoon or two of ice cream. That's the anatomy, if you want, of compulsion in that situation. Based on our unconscious associative patterns, the unawareness of our fundamental needs. So the more we are starting to understand, look, this is a fundamental need, and do it, go to fulfill it, you will be surprised. All these complex unconscious associations get dismantled, and they don't give this result of a complex compulsion that you can't get the head and tails about it. So yeah, it can work.
Why out of interest do you think it's much bigger issue for women than men? I mean, I was looking at some of the statistics, like severe obesity is double in women, eating disorders are 4 times more in women. Comfort eating, I have no idea. They can't really get statistics on that, but it's definitely more prevalent, this food issue, for example, in women.
It has to do very much with the way the feminine consciousness, a person with the feminine inclination, if you want, the feminine predominance, energetic predominance, is looking upon life experiences. And also, it's much easier to acknowledge your emotions. Men are having a mechanism of simplifying / suppressing emotions very much. And all these unconscious associative patterns are driven, empowered by emotions. So for this reason, also, it's not the only reason, but also women are more exposed to this. But again, this is disappearing naturally when, for instance, you put the light of your consciousness inside of you and you start to correctly acknowledge, first of all, your experiences, but not experiences through the senses, but inside impact of those sensorial experiences. And in this respect, women tend to be more exteriorized than men. Statistically, of course, I know nowadays it's very hard to deal with statistics, but statistics are merciless. And they are totally non-PC, by the way. Is the only invariant part of science, I would say today. We try to twist science today in all kinds of ways to fit with our pathetic PC culture, except the statistics, which the only thing you can do with them is to ignore them. Statistics are merciless. So yes, statistically speaking, a woman is exposed more to exteriorization. She's much more sensitive. Think about the woman's body. In some areas have thousands of times more sensorial sensors, nervous terminations than the male body. You're bombarded, your consciousness is bombarded with the world that is far greater, to put it in that way, far greater in experiences than a man's body. And of course, your consciousness tends to get the habit to exteriorize. But being exteriorized, you draw the conclusion, you start to make unconscious associative patterns. That flower makes me happy. No. The flower reminds you of how is to be happy. The cake reminds you of how is to be pleasantly happy, and so on. So, but that step is a step within, and yeah, when you are stretched towards the outside by a sensorial system that is way more rich. Yeah. It makes it statistically a little more difficult to resist or to make this step inside. So these elements combined makes those statistics that you mentioned more real.
I don't know if you want to get into this angle, Ava, but I was also wondering, why all this overeating has really kicked in since the 60s. And do you think any of it is connected to babies being begun to be fed with formula milk? Because it just seems to me like if right from the beginning that started, whether there is that correlation or whether it's just to do with wealth, maybe.
I don't think the wealth is a problem in itself. And of course, there are some correlations between all the bad habits of eating and the quality of what we eat. But I think the causality is the other way around. We started to afford ourselves junk food. We started to afford even babies to, feed them with all kind of artificial things because we are not looking at the impact. We're just looking at the experience outside. So you eat whatever junk food and it makes you feel good. And that's it. That's all you hear from people. It's so good. I want more. And if you ask the person, but does it feel good inside of you? They don't even understand the question. What do you mean? Of course, it's good. No. How does it feel good when you digest it? How does it feel, for instance, in correlation with your inner state? Didn't you feel the whole afternoon heavy after that? Like a boa snake after eating an elephant, or as I used to compare it, like, didn't you feel miserable afterwards? What is here is what is called the bliss of ignorance, in quotes, of course, because it's not really blissful. We have a very short attention span and we don't correlate events. We can't see that a bad breakfast can influence the afternoon. We can't see the correlation. And therefore we say, no, but this is not correlated. This has nothing to do with me or with my mood the next day. Oh, it does. You ate very bad or rushed in the evening or very late, you will have a very bad day tomorrow. And the decisions you take tomorrow might influence the next month or the next life. So therefore, there are deep correlations, but a very short attention span is making us oblivious about these things completely. And therefore, we start to afford bad eating, bad habits of eating, bad quantities of eating. And that's why all these correlations that you see is not wealth. It's unconsciousness. And of course, wealth, if you want, is a correlation in the following way. We also don't see the impact that having too much, because this is what we say today. I want to have so much I cannot count. I want to have so much I cannot spend the much as I have. This is such a wasteful definition of wealth. Wealth is to have exactly what you need. That's the definition of the universe. The nature around us is only having exactly as much as we need. The fact that we don't use it, that's a totally different question. So that's the paradigm shift in this perspective. So we, in my opinion, it's not the wealth that came in together with the incapacity to use the objects, the food, everything that we have. It's the fact that we're not aware of the impact of our actions in our daily life. Due to the small attention span, we don't even have the habit anymore to look in what happens. We just leave the things uncorrelated, unrelated, as if they go away. They don't go away. It's exactly like somebody is walking and is limping, and you ask, why are you limping? I don't know, I have a pain. And then you say, maybe there is a stone in your shoe. Yeah, probably it is, but what is this having to do with my limping? Well, it does. I remember in this respect, there was a joke when I was a kid, which we were saying that a person goes to the doctor and says, "Doctor, I have a problem, which I can't figure it out. Every time I drink tea in the morning, I feel a pain here. I try to figure out what it is, and it's just every single time." And the doctor says, "Try to take the spoon out of the cup when you drink the tea." So that's very often what happens to us. Very, very often. Uncorrelated events, uncorrelated because of very short attention span. We can't correlate them. And then we're exposed to things like, wow, why am I doing that? Look a little bit longer. Increase your attention span. And yeah, the size of the attention span, the capacity to use even our brain capacity, our intellectual potential, the capacity to use our heart potential and so on, they are all nowadays degenerated because we don't use them consciously and we don't train them. So yeah, you see, correlated. And in the end, we eat junk, too much, unconscious, and all this. But this is just the end of a chain of attitudes and habits that we built in our life. It's the end of it.
So I was thinking, for all the people listening today, what I would take away from what you're saying is obviously bringing attention and awareness when you're about to put something in your mouth, for example. I mean, obviously with everything, but we're talking about eating right now.
Yeah.
And to look, what is it that you really need fundamentally at that moment? Do you need food, or do you need a cuddle, or something else?
What do you feel exactly? What do you feel the real crave?
The thing is, it's not necessarily that easy, is it, to know what the fundamental need is? So what's the skill with that?
Listen, in this respect, but you pointed out excellent. This is the classic question. When we say it like that, it seems like a simple solution. What I just explained seemed so obvious and simple. I can do it. And that's where we're wrong. It's a process. When first time you sit there in front of the fridge with the compulsion to open the fridge, even though you don't need that, it's not time to eat, but still you sit there. How many people look in the fridge as if it is something interesting hiding there or something, yeah? And you ask, what do you need? And they say, I don't know, I'm just contemplating life in the fridge. Yeah. So, but the point with that is that we have the impression that if I will sit there in front of the fridge and instead of opening the fridge, I open myself towards that need. What do I need? What exactly do I need? It feels uncomfortable because we are like in front of a white wall. In the beginning, you don't distinguish anything almost. Still, 1 minute of this exercise, stop a little bit. But not first time, second time. Don't expect results immediately. But after a while, you'll start to distinguish, actually, you're right. I have another desire now. And it's actually pointing towards another direction, not towards the direction of the fridge. And try the uncomfortable in the beginning experience of follow that few steps. Yeah, just try to fulfill that desire, because the habit leads to the fridge. Made almost a trench that goes to the fridge and back. Especially now, people on lockdown, the carpet is having some clear patterns now, I'm sure, in many homes. If you follow it, you see their habits. Because confined to such a small space, our predominant habits are more obvious. So in this situation, just follow a little bit the other unusual ways. You'll discover a lot of things about yourself and you'll broaden inner perspective.
But what if you look and you feel, right, my fundamental need right now is I need love, affection, physical contact, and maybe I'm in a flat on my own during coronavirus lockdown. How do you even deal with a fundamental need like that?
Well, first of all, you start, imagine, let's take a simple one. You're very hungry. You're very hungry because you haven't eaten for a while. So obviously you have a fundamental need to feed yourself. It's your, this is how you're built by nature. So it's not something you projected or something. It's, and then you saw people become very creative when they are very hungry. It's very creative. Like, all right, I can combine this and that and eat this. And like, really, you're so creative. That's why after fasting, I have a policy. You never go in the end of the fasting shopping for food. You go shopping other things, but not food. Because when you come back and next day, when you open the fridge, you start to ask people around who bought all this crazy stuff. And you get the answer, you. And you can't even remember. Well, it's not that severe, but really, like, you can't think, how did I bought these things? But they look so appealing when you are hungry. They look amazing. There's, I will eat only that. And then now when you are a little bit more fulfilled, you realize, no way, I'm not touching that. Really, because yesterday you were like ready to eat it. Yeah. So what I'm saying, this little evocation experiment that I did here shows that we can be, on some moments, very creative and active in pursuing certain fundamental needs. Just that we became very passive. We're not exploring the world. We are waiting for the world to provide whatever the world is providing. And the only thing eventually we do is to react by being frustrated. I don't get what I need. Go for it. Go for it. You need love. Start loving. You will discover the miracle of active love. Every time you need more love, open your heart to love more. Love a person. Take the picture of that person. Contemplate that person with love. And you will see that the reservoir, the tank starts to fill up slowly with love. And you need to sit on it a little while longer. Not fast food love, but a little bit deeper. Then you will see, wow, that feels amazing. Exactly. You need touch, massage, go for, like, there are all kinds of ways, creative ways, what I'm saying. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people who come and say, I would very much need this. I'm so much craving for that. Did you even try something? No. In 98% of the cases, we didn't move a finger in that direction. But still, the 2% of the cases are what determines our view. Yeah, but I tried. When? Last year? 10 years ago? No, I'm talking pursue it actively. So, again, statistics. Of course, this maybe, it has to do, and perhaps it's very useful for your perspective to take home. You see, desires, when you have a desire for something, a craving, some people call it, a desire is a signal to us. It should not have executive power. A desire is like a counselor, but it's not the ruler, it's not the prime minister. Imagine a counselor who tries to be tyrannical. Hey, you should do what I counseled you for. Well, no, but most of desires feels like that. Why? Because we gave desires executive power in our consciousness. Because every time a desire appears, instead of stopping, thank you very much, you suggested that, I'll consider it. No, every time a desire comes, we move to action. And after a while, well, desires are the boss. And people live to fulfill desires. And of course, not by coincidence, desires bring all their friends. Yeah. Like they do now. People in power immediately bring all their family in power and all their friends and everybody else. And you see, it happens everywhere. Yeah. Because that's how it works. Now, if you stop a little bit and you say, thank you, you're a counselor. Don't expect me to follow immediately. I might have a priority. No, but I'm the desire. I'm the boss. No, you're not the boss. You're a counselor. Thank you very much. I acknowledge that you want to signal something inside of me. A desire appears as a signal. We might need something like the flashing light on the dashboard of your car saying gas. That's desire. Your car desire gas. It doesn't scream, but it has a blinking lamp there. And then we get desperate. It's flashing. No, actually it's flashing 100 kilometers before you need tank. You need gas. So you choose. Okay, I'll stop at this one. I'll stop next one. I'll put gas when I arrive home because I'm near home. So you plan your day. You're not reacting, completely narrowing your perspective. You forget what you were about to do, where you are driving. Now this flashing lamp becomes your number one and only priority. That is what we do with external objects. But with internal objects, mysteriously we started to forget about it. So that's why treating desires, I think, is a very big lesson, especially about compulsive habits, eating, and so on. You desire something, good. Feel the impact of that desire, separate from where it points out. Now you are the initiator of the Who Am I series. That will help a lot in that, because the Who Am I, the one who truly I am, is the source of the desire as well. So if I follow the desire, not the object, the desire says, eat banana. Desire points out towards the banana. But the desire springs out of me. So if I follow the desire exactly as the trout goes on the river, not to the sea, but to the origin of the river, I find out who I am. The origin of the desire. Otherwise, I find out the banana. So I'm a monkey eventually. You see, the difference between the one who finds out who he or she truly is and the monkey eating unconsciously the banana is the direction you follow, what unites you with the banana, the desire. Now, this exercise seems to be a little bit abstract, but you can stop in front of the fridge every time. Why do I need to open the fridge? What's the desire? I desire something tasteful, some people say. I desire something sweet. Good. Feel the desire. Few seconds. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Sit on a chair. Feel it a little bit. The desire for something sweet. Some people say, but if I do that, the desire will grow enormously. Doesn't matter. Enjoy that. It's an experience in itself. Enjoy it, because then you will see, and many people are surprised, actually I started from desire for something sweet. Then I realize I need pleasure in a much more deeper way. Then I realize I want this and that. Then I realize, see, you would have eaten doing all the other things in between and still you have the desire. After all this talk, Lucy, don't go to the fridge.
This is something I just love working with you because, people might think, well, I meditate an hour a day and then that's it. I've done my spiritual practice. But I love the way everything is important. Everything. All these little details are the most important in some ways, aren't they? It's like detail by detail by detail. Yeah. So little desires, big desires, eating a banana, everything becomes part of this, like you're saying, a discovery for who we are. And I just love it, where you bring to importance, remind us of that.
Yeah, well, as a conclusion, I would say we need to realize that life is the biggest teacher if we pay attention to the lesson. Otherwise, we eat the banana unconsciously. But if we pay attention to it deeper and deeper, and paying attention doesn't mean one glance. It's a repetitive process. We peel off the banana from all the desires. Slowly, slowly, we reach to the essence. And that is the fastest way to learn. That's my conclusion. I mean, meditation, yoga, all kinds of spiritual practice are giving us the tools to do one thing: live our life to its maximum potential of teaching. That's a conclusion. What would you conclude, Lucy, from our talk today?
Well, I do think I've said it, but I'll say again, because I think it is about bringing awareness to everything and pausing before eating, bringing consciousness to that, and to ask yourself, what is it I really want this moment? For eating something that I don't actually really feel anything for. And then also trying to fulfill whatever true need. It's not just a matter of becoming aware of it, it's then fulfilling it. So, and I loved what you were saying. If you have this need for love, then you don't have to sit around waiting. Even if you're on your apartment photo, give love to that photo. That was as a way of fulfilling a fundamental. And the other thing is, it's a long practice.
In front of the fridge with a banana.
We've mentioned bananas so many times in this. I'll look at bananas differently, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you, Lucy, for joining me. And I hope this was fulfilling for you and for everyone who's listening to us. I strongly recommend everyone to check out the Who Am I series, the Quantum Questions programs, where I also was invited to participate. Thank you very much. And also thank you for following this podcast, and for Lucy Pattinson for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Abba. Thank you for having me.
You can ask questions below or on the email. And please stay tuned until the next time. And please remember that being alive means a continuous transformation. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Continuous Transformation Podcast. For more episodes, articles, and events, visit advaitananda.com.